Hey, it's Fox from Inferno Fox Gaming, and I just played through this gem here again, and that's it? Let's talk about it. I have finished in its entirety Super Mario Galaxy 2, specifically the Switch version of the game. And yes, that is all 242 stars. Now, of course, I've done this before back in 2010 with this gem right here when it originally came out. In my mind, I had thought that this entry belonged in the discussion for one of the best Mario games of all time, nay, conversations for the greatest video games of all time. Hell, on one of many of IGN's engagement-driving listicles that they had just put out recently, Super Mario Galaxy 2 landed on the number 14 slot, above the first entry slot. And if IGN says it, it's gotta be true, right? My return to this entry, especially on the Switch, made me realize that not only is this specific edition of the game flawed, but it just wasn't as good as I originally remembered it to be. Before we jump into the flaws, I do have to discuss some of the really great things with this version, the Switch and Switch 2 version. I will say that I am so grateful to have had another opportunity to play this game, especially without the awful motion controls. Yep, I'm one of those people, don't like motion controls. I also didn't really have any problems using my Pro Controller at all, insofar as a pointer on screen. Didn't really play this a lot on handheld, so using the touch screen to deploy star bits really wasn't a problem, and really wasn't a problem at all because I usually don't shoot star bits at all when I play Mario Galaxy games. And it really is quite beautiful on screen, both handheld as well as on the big screen. The Switch 2 version especially nails the bright, colorful visuals at 4K 60 frames per second. Load times also were quite minimal, along with auto-saving occurring after getting every star, so you don't have to select, do you want to save your game through the pop-ups that appear? But with the niceties of the version out of the way come the warts with the Switch and Switch 2 version, and just general issues that I have with Super Mario Galaxy 2. I had major issues with the controls on this entry, both handheld and with my Pro Controller. I just mentioned that I didn't have any issues pursuant to the Pro Controller itself, but there were some weird issues that I had within the gameplay. So for example, what I mean on that is there would be times where Mario would just spin in circles for like no reason, even when I held the controller stick in one direction. And I remember running into this kind of thing with Fantasian Neo Dimension or Final Fantasy X, but that was always due to the camera shifting, due to like the screen changing. But with this version of Mario Galaxy 2, sometimes it'd occur if Mario would pick up a power-up, or hell, it would happen if for like no reason at all. I would be moving forward and then all of a sudden Mario would just spin in a circle. Another issue that I had was with hitboxes for both enemies and bosses. I was certain I jumped on enemies' heads to defeat them, for example, or hitting the button to use the Luma's power to spin, but I'd find Mario actually getting hurt or even knocked out instead. I also had a big issue being able to tell perspective shifts for the actual power stars and green stars themselves, often falling into the great beyond and thus missing stars for jumps and whatnot. Okay, maybe this last one though is a product of my old age, but I mean, come on, there's got to be a better way to tell Mario's placement on the 3D plane. I swear I didn't have this sort of issue with games like Super Mario 3D World or Mario Odyssey. This is a good segue into the general issues that I've had with Mario Galaxy 2 itself compared to the first entry. Mario Galaxy 2 really feels like literal filler. I can tell Miyamoto and his team were taking the literal kitchen sink of ideas they ran out of room for in the first entry and poured them into this for better or worse. This includes the likes of the Goron mask, the rock mushroom ability, which is a near mirror to said Goron mask. The cloud flower ability was fun, But why did they have to eliminate the ice flower? With the whole kitchen sink at play, I'm sure there were a number of fun ideas that they could have utilized the ice flower for. I did appreciate the more world-like and structured environment of Starship Mario exploring the cosmos, but I also felt they made Rosalina too high of a pedestal, up to and including her specifically being the one that gives the 242nd star. What was the reason for this? She was our literal guide in the first entry. There's also a number of ways Nintendo could have implemented some quality of life improvements, both with the OG Wii version of Mario Galaxy 2, as well as with the Switch version. My most specific example is the process of gaining power stars. It's cool to see the whole animation when you're first starting out, but it gets very tedious seeing it play out an additional 241 times, especially for those pesky green stars. I also don't know why we had to have separate pop-ups after picking up these stars for the star itself, the star bits, and the coins. Just lump all these into one pop-up. Come on. I mentioned the first entry, and I'm confident now that the first entry, Super Mario Galaxy 1, is superior to the second one. Both entries themselves feature absolutely fantastic level design, though I'll give the slight edge to the second entry for some really interesting design elements. Both entries also have those levels where you go, ugh, it's that one. For me, Mario Galaxy 1 had the Poltergust Daredevil run and Mario Galaxy 2's Boss Blitz Galaxy Speedy run, but narrative and character development absolutely go to the first entry, what with the better detail being given here by far. This speaks to one of many flaws that Miyamoto himself has when it comes to his games and stories, but that's another discussion for another video another time. The soundtrack also goes to the first entry by a country mile. Now, the music for Galaxy 2, I did end up warming up to a lot more in this second most recent playthrough, but it just doesn't come close to touching the greatness of Mario Galaxy 1. The power-ups are also a close tie here, in my opinion, as I honestly don't like a lot of the power-ups that are in both of the Galaxy entries. I hate the spring power-up that's in both games, as controlling it is wonky and getting the timing of the larger jump can be annoying. The red star in the first entry is way underutilized. Of course, maybe that it's OP, but at the same time, they could have done a lot more with it. Yoshi is way overrated in the second entry. Thankfully, he is much better than he was with Super Mario Sunshine, but Yoshi's annoying to deal with when he gets hit. It's immediately up. Mario actually takes damage. He gets popped off of Yoshi, and Yoshi either runs around or becomes an egg again and then disappears. The power-ups that Yoshi has too, like the light, balloon, and pepper, honestly, I gotta give it to them. They're pretty neat, especially the Speedy Pepper. I would take Speedy Yoshi over Rock Mario any day of the week. Finally, the biggest reason I think Mario Galaxy 1 is superior to Mario Galaxy 2 is both games' post-game content. Now, I am a proponent of avoiding filler post-game content. Stuff that's needlessly added to games, such as anything that's with the Game Boy Advance versions of the Final Fantasy series. I like the pixel remasters of the Final Fantasy series because it totally gets rid of all of that superfluous content, and that's how I feel with the Galaxy 1 and 2 games. The post-game for Mario Galaxy 1 is literally working to get all 120 stars so that you can have fun, unlock an easy 121st star, which is a small nod to breaking the 120 cap that we've seen at that time with Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine. Also breaking that mold from Mario 64 is unlocking the same playthrough again, but as Luigi. To me, as a teenage Mario 64 Luigi hunter, this was one of the coolest aspects that I really appreciated with Mario Galaxy 1. While with Mario Galaxy 2, we get the green again, except this time it's hunting 2 to 3 green stars hidden throughout every single level. Finding these in every level ranged from stupidly easy to annoyingly tedious. Every level really has 1 or 2 main stars in them, with there also being a comet variant. This means we've already revisited the levels a couple times, seeing the narrative beats repeat themselves. Well, now we got to do it all over again 2 to 3 more times with the green star hunts. Once we find the green star, we transport back the Mario ship, go through the process of bypassing the many pop-ups, then go back right in to find the next green star, and oh man, did I get sick. Did I ever get sick of that green star comet pop-up and noise. This really makes me appreciate Super Mario 3D World so much more. That had green stars in each level, but it didn't make us have to exit every single time that we picked one up. And yes, green stars in that were kind of like what the comet medals were in Mario Galaxy 2, but it was a much smoother experience. I seriously think that Super Mario Galaxy 2 ran so that Super Mario 3D World, the superior game, could fly. And speaking of 3D World, let's talk about the post-game content for Mario Galaxy 2, specifically the perfect run. I still maintain this is by far the hardest level in 3D Mario history, though I would argue this version, the Wii version, is made harder with its awful motion control reliance and required usage of the Wiimote and Nunchuck. Playing it on the Switch 2, I expected to resign myself to death after death after death, but I did end up beating it on my 7th try or so. Yeah, of course, my heart was nearly beating out of my chest at the end, but still, I was surprised how quickly completing the level actually occurred. And I think this level itself represents my overall thoughts for this version of Super Mario Galaxy 2 on the Switch and the game itself. Sometimes it could be a pain, sometimes I'd have deaths that I maybe didn't think I should have had, but it's the solid level design itself and the fun factor that really makes Super Mario Galaxy 2 worthwhile. I've said a lot of things about this entry that admittedly sound negative, but make no mistake, guys. Mario Galaxy 2, this is fun. Because the worst 3D Mario game, it ain't this. It's not this. Not even close. Beats the pants off of the best 3D entries of Sonic, Crash Bandicoot, and more. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.